Find the invisible world. It's the key to save everyone. But we're just kids. That's why you can succeed.
All right. Well, I am Grant from Screen Rant. I am so excited to chat with you both for this show. I binged it all in one sitting because I just was so hooked on it. I'll
What?
start. Yes, it was so good. I couldn't help it. I needed to know.
You know
Holly,
everything.
yes, I
It's
do.
great.
Which I obviously can't talk about at all. But Holly, I'll start with you, and then Tony. This is obviously not the first time the work has been adapted for the screen. What was it like going into this adaptation in comparison to the film?
Well, I mean, obviously, television, by its very nature, right, opens things up in a way that, that a film compresses. And so it was really great to get to spend more time with these characters, specifically the villain. We get to see what Mulgarath's up to, what his scheme is. We get to see what his inner conflict is.
Yeah.
And that's really, really fun. And we get to spend more time with Simon and Mallory and really build out their conflicts. We get to spend time with their mom, and all of that stuff, I think, feels really great. And I think, we get to dive even more deeply into Jared and his conflict and his anger and how he's processing it.
And beautifully performed by Lion Daniels. The kids do such a great job. I feel like they carry the whole series, and that was so exciting for us.
I love that. They really do. Everybody does a fantastic job in this cast, but yes, definitely the three siblings are phenomenal. Now, this obviously isn't Aaron's first time adapting another work for the screen, but I'm curious, often with adaptations, the original creators are not as closely involved in the actual development. So I'd love to hear from both of you how closely he worked with both of you to really hone his vision, and while still ensuring that it was true to the source.
Well, Grant, I think, when we first met with Aaron, he held up a copy of a book that was a huge inspiration for us, which was a book called Fairies, which came out in the 70s, and it was illustrated by Brian Froud, who would go on to create the creatures for the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, and Alan Lee, who worked on a little-known trilogy called Lord of the Rings. So this was a huge influence for us. And then the other book he held up was the Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual. So we're like, you got the job, dude. Like, totally get it. But I think there were real conversations about, like, the books were published 20 years ago, and how do we make the books reach a modern day audience, and what kind of stories can we tell? How can we retain the spirit of the characters, right? I think that's very important to Holly and I, which he does expertly. The themes of the book, which is about Jared's anger because of the divorce, and how he sees his anger echoed and paralleled in Mulgarath, and to a lesser extent Thimbletack. And then, of course, the folklore. Can you maintain the folklore? The folklore needs to be true from folklore that's centuries old. How do we honor that original European folklore that Holly and I tapped so much for the books? And check. So I mean, I think that's what's exciting for us, is to take a story that's this old and see what a new iteration looks like.
So with bringing it then to modern audiences, that I'm sure required some changes from the book, was there any one change where it really required a lot of conversation between the two of you and Aaron, of accepting it, of finding the right middle ground maybe between what it was in the book and what it is in the show?
So there was a lot of ongoing conversation, especially early on when he was putting the writers' room together and they were kind of getting started. Because once they got started, I mean, Holly and I were there for the first couple of weeks, and then off they went. I think, he loved the idea. We were in one meeting and Holly said, this is an American fairy tale. This is not a British fairy tale. We want it to feel very steeped in American and in America. And so he kind of came back and said, well, why don't we put it in Middle America instead of New England? And we had a long talk about it, and we thought that's awesome. That sounds great, the way he pitched it. And that was a big conversation. I think the addition of more human, more human characters, which, like the Fetch, Holly, that we came up with for him, that played by Ali.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, absolutely. I think also the way he was approaching Jared's anger vis-a-vis mental illness and really
Yes.
focus on, what does it mean to be, what does it mean to have this today? Like, how do we treat people who are struggling today?
With anger
With
and
anger, but also, like in the context of, mental health.
yeah, I mean, bear in mind, Grant, we were working on this in 2018, going into 2019, all through the pandemic. So, it is very now, like it's for today. It's very relevant for what teenagers are experiencing and have experienced in the last 5 years, which I love. I love that we can keep the bones of what we set out to put in the books, which was then brought to the film, and now we have a much more updated, modern version for a modern day audience.
I do love everything that you two and Aaron have done in then building this for modern audiences. It really does resonate those themes so well throughout the show. I see I'm almost out of time, so before I let you go, the show ends on I can't say what, but it obviously ends on quite a big cliffhanger. And with its interesting behind the scene journey from Disney Plus to Roku, I'm curious, have you had talks with Roku and Aaron about hopefully continuing this on into a season 2?
I mean, yeah, we, our fingers are crossed, our toes are crossed, everything is crossed. You can, you can watch for free on Roku.com. Please do tell all your friends, and hopefully we'll be back.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see more of these characters in this world. And so, what was it like then for both of you, that journey from, one streamer to the other?
That's where the adults were talking, Grant, and we just kind of sat and waited to see what the decision was. But it does tell you something about the quality of the production and the writing and the performances that one streamer's like, look, it's too dark for us, or we don't, it's not necessarily for us, and Roku would come in and go, we love it, let's go. And it happened very quickly, and that's just incredible. I think that's a testament to the quality of the show.
I was so glad to hear the turnaround time was just like that, because it was something I was excited for. So I'm glad it's here. I'm glad I'm here to spread the word about it, and I am out of time, so I will let you both go. Thank you, though, so much for sharing your insight into this beautiful show.